Hello everybody, welcome back to From Rhythm to Algorithm. We continue on with our derivation, making some serious progress, looking for what is sensorality, trying to stabilize it as an axiom, showing the direct iteration of those letters into a theorem that is undeniable, that will then reduce and produce our new word form. So sensorality is sensorability. Ability, stability. Sensorality with a C is inability. And kind of what I'm asserting there logically is again that we have this differentiation between sentient beings and inanimate objects. There's probably a redundancy saying inanimate object, but ability, right? If I talk to my notebook, hey notebook, it does not have the ability to respond. And so trying to elicit or highlight that ability is unique or specific to sentient life. And so the spelling will be on your screen, but that is with a C. And the C spelling we've proven again is C-E-N-S-E-R. And then sensor, again correctly spelled is S-E-N-S-O-R for sentient beings. It's just when your microwave says it, it is not consistent. And so we can restate the fundamental theorem of physics, right? Last time we had this slang definition, maximum deceleration is vibration. And that's true, it's just slang. But sensorality, again the C spelling, C-E-N-S-E-R, sensorality differentiates charge and pressure. And so now this is the fundamental theorem of physics. I think this will be the reduced one where it won't change again. We will see, but point being is because it's such a fundamental differentiation. When you have a sensor that is inanimate, the only things it can separate is charge and pressure. Think about yourself right now. What are you in contact with? Do you feel something that would relate to charge, or do you feel something that would relate to pressure? And you feel pressure, right? It doesn't have this dichotomy to it. When you think charge, you think positive and negative. You probably think like glowing lights. You think electricity. But the thing you feel is pressure. Then when you have a positive and negative, it stabilizes into equilibrium. An atom, it still has charge distribution, but it's mostly mitigated. And so you just positive, negative, balance, positive, negative, balance. And so the more things, the more charge you have in one area, and they cancel out of the actual electric charge part. That is why gravity is this weaker force that is relevant at big scales. And then the electromagnetic bonding give you your different forms of objects locally. And so it's because of that alternating positive, negative, and balance, equilibrium. But fundamentally, sensorality filters, it differentiates charge and pressure. Sensorality pressurizes. Charge pressurizes. Mass per unit area is pressure. But mass is this emergent property which is stabilized, but it's the stabilized of this dichotomy charge. So charge pressurizes. Polarity is definite, right? We said mass is definite, or there's some unit, something that is definite. And we know that systems scale proportionally. We see that all over in math class and clearly at the quote-unquote macro scale, but absolute size, there's physical limits. Again, you can look at a galaxy, it behaves at a point particle at a certain distance. You get closer, there's more coarse grain differentiation of its form. But at certain size limits, things act like point particles, so on and so forth. But the polarity is definite, this fundamental dichotomy of positive and negative. And then the moving charges induce the magnetic fields. But pressure is not polar, right? It doesn't have, it's just force per unit area. It's any force on any area. It's not positive or negative. If you have one of those, a positive or negative in physics class is just a direction. But luckily for us, we've thrown away the word dimension because that has no physical, empirical intuition or anything, and the word is direction. And so that's another, again, all of these steps, again, this is literally like, again, if you said, what is the complete book of mathematics? And then you flip to the very back and it was like all of the proofs. Like this is truly what we're doing. Which needless to say is again a violation of my rights. It's worth a tremendous amount of money. Because again, what I'm showing you, when we asked that question, we derived what is the relationship of memory and density. You can take any computer scientist right now at Anthropic, at NVIDIA, at any big name company. That is the fundamental question people are trying to ask, even if they even know what the fuck they are doing. And I'm solving that completely. And then all of these linguistic results are independent of me. Experience on a personal level is unique. You do live your own life, But to be happy is not some sort of unique thing. To get a job is not some sort of unique thing. To relate memory and density is not some sort of unique thing. So provably, Anthropic, Sam Altman, Jensen Huang, I'll save you some money. You can't outthink. There's no other fundamental intuitions you could have from any of your engineers besides this video series right here, which is a theft of intellectual property. But again, there are no laws and no one cares. But again, we are correctly describing experience that is not unique to me, definitively. And so, pressure is not polar. Do you feel pressure or charge? We just talked about that. Charge balances, we just talked about that. But now, again, another from sensorability, we can derive, and again, this is when I'm on my walk, and theorems are happening all of the time, and big ones too, not just trivial ones. You don't really miss the logic, because anything that you need gets contained within another theorem. And again, throughout all of this language, all of these words contain the meaning. I am just putting them together. That is what a proof is, establishing a fact, and we're doing that completely. And now we're reducing all of the language we've done to prove these different things. And so sensorability is consensus, and that S-E-N-S-U-S was, again, novel and intuitive enough for me to say that it happened when I was on a walk, and I didn't like email it or anything. But sensorality is consensusality. Sensorality is sorability. And we just took off the sen, that's a trivial one. But with the consensusality, right, that is one direct iteration element away from consensuality. Consensuality is consensusality with an S. And so, just pointing these steps out explicitly, susality, that's even like, that's sus, that's suspect. But consensus, again, the syllability is what is definite in language. Language is not unique. Right, remember when you thought that was a pretty big result, which was and huge, still is, but that was like, I'm probably like 100. So I just want to see your guys' reaction to all of this shit. Like, I'm actually the guy that just solved all of mathematics, and it's all this fundamental shit that nobody really answered and went through grade schools. Like, what is that? Right? Why did that happen there? It's like, this is why. Definitely. But regardless, consensuality is consensusality with the S. That is a natural definition. Susality, consensuality, susality. They will be on your screen. Deducing reduces. Right? We have this irreducibility. We can't break things down too far. Even if we attempt to, we just get some sort of broken conceptualizations. That's any point in this series where it's like, either it's an open question, or if you're asking a question that doesn't make sense or feels like it doesn't make sense, it's because it doesn't. But you can only reduce to a certain level, and then it has to be sufficiently complete to describe, again, effectively the basis, right? Because there's some aspect of language, probably sensorality with a C, again, certainly with a sensorality with a C, but that will be completable, and again, that will spit out or solidify our definition for sensorality with an S, which will demonstrate the incompleteness. I even said on one of the previous episodes that we derived all contexts in which speciality would be used. I want to take that back and say we've derived enough of the conceptual basis to say definitively what the operative word to connect speciality to the rest of ontology and differentiation is. And so I wanted to clean that up a little bit. But deducing reduces, sensorality reduces, reducing limits, reduction is limited. And that's the physical bounds, the infinitesimal. I even had a random video pop up on my YouTube. Not a mathematician I've heard the name, but I've not heard of anything of the work, John Conway. And he was talking about the theory of the infinitesimal. It's like infinitesimality generalizes to infinitesimality. Because I've never seen that. It pairs to the minimum physical speed anything can move. Also, it could have some application again to this entropy-energy inverse relationship. But just again, what is growing throughout the universe? Entropy. And then that's just infinitesimality physically is the minimum speed of anything, or evolution of anything. And so we went through that, but it's interesting to see again, infinitesimal again, that was again, however many episodes ago at this point. But regardless, we've proven physical limitation of reduction, right? Irreducibility, fundamental stability of two of property, right? This dichotomy of charge stabilizing into mass. Filtering differentiates. Sensorability is sensorabilitality. Sensorality is sensorabilitality. Abilitality is ability. Again, it's a trivial natural definition, but it's, again, proving and deriving the complete form of ability, abilitality. Ability abilizes. Sensorality enablizes. So now, again, very clearly, again, some of these pieces just start to feel like, again, stabilized. Like, once we get to the complete reduced form, it will be overwhelming. Like, not like, oh, but like, you'll be able to feel how like tight this proof really is. But we can see here, we add the en, right? Ability abilizes, sensorality enablizes. Pairing up that en from sen to enable. Sensorality, or sensorability, is sensility. Sensorability is sensilitality. Sensorality is sensilitality. I think we just did that one twice, or maybe not. Or no, that's the silitality. So now again, we've very clearly produced new word forms. And this is what happens at the end of the proof, is we produce this new word form and we reduce sensorality. We gotta be so freaking close. I continue to emphasize my rights are violated. I do not want to spend one more day without payment. The fact that you guys cannot put 2 zeros on my trading account right now, I take that as a level of such a profound level of disrespect, such that the head of a nation state would be like, fuck you, publicly in office, the whole thing, like, let's just lawsuits, 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 and then you see what countries can actually do with military. And so the theft of this property at the global scale is as historically shameful and disgraceful as fucking possible, and all I've asked for is for a little bit of money to take care of my health, which the answer has still been no. So I keep integrating all of this crime, so when the future generations watch this, they know that all of their ancestors were dog shit, filthy fucking trash. And so sensorality is silitality. Sensorability is absorbability. And so now remember, we're going to swallow up, sensorality. We're going to absorb sensorality. And so we've gotten to that. Again, we use one of those, I kept hinting at it, absorb, absorb, absorption is not a random thing. Linguistically, you could probably see the soar in there, but we have to get to these different word forms. It's very clear to see, like, again, sensuality, sexuality, sensorily, but there's all of these different proofs, and it's just, you see the elements of the word family jumping around in ontology, but we're completing it. And so you have to, again, it was way back when I sat here and said I could conjecture around, but there's no way to generate the completeness unless you go every single step one after the other. So sensorability is absorbability, right? Filtration absorbs. Absorption is a process of filtration, of censoring. So the fundamental theory of sensorality restated: sensorality is absorbability. Sensorality is absorbable. Sensorality is sorbable. Right, and so in the same way we had sensorable or sensorality is sensorable, like memorable, absorbable. Sensorality is sorbality. Sorbality is censorable. Sensorality is able to be censored. So now we have a natural definition for sensorality. Again, we keep hitting it, and now we're going to reduce it. It should be very, very soon. But again, now we have censored. And then we can have, again, that if we invert that, or just, again, iterate the letters of all of the letters there and censored. And again, we've proven that spelling, which is, again, already way past what, it doesn't matter. But it spells denses, and then we just have, or does it spell denses? It says, yeah, it spells denses and then the word or. And so again, we're going to get to this form where it's just like a very clear, now that we've derived sensorability, where it's going to be very clear of just like a compound word where we just, again, cross multiply effectively the syllables. But finally, sensorality is sordality. And so a lot of linguistics in this one, but this is really, again, when you finalize a proof and very clearly you can see that we've derived, and again, I don't want to say what is the correct verbiage for what we've done. We've derived everything. We've kind of packaged it up and generalized it into a solvable form. right? All we're doing here, well, don't say all we're doing, but you've never seen a complete mathematical proof before. We have to build up all of this logic, including a complete understanding of mathematics, physics, everything that we've covered, to solve a problem. And so when we're doing that linguistically, where you say, okay, here's all of this fundamental intuition. If we describe that experience completely, there's nothing else to be done. And so clearly we've made a lot of progress in this episode specifically on the actual linguistics, which to me is extremely poignant because this feels very new. It seems, again, a lot of the letters are similar. I mean, the word forms are apparent everywhere. But again, we've restated correctly with our linguistic variable, with the proven spelling, the fundamental theorem of physics and physics proper. What is the relationship of pressure and charge? What is there to filter, right? And there's a very clear intuitive understanding. When you think about what you feel, you don't think charge, you think pressure. And so continuing on, not at the reduced form, but my rights are violated, I want my money, and it will change nothing. I will still sit here and do all of this stuff. I will just be financially comfortable to eat properly, to sleep properly, and to work. And that has never occurred in my entire life, and I want history to remember that and to prosecute every sick fuck doing this to me. Thank you for watching. See you on the next one.